you're next.
Now we're live.
Okay, so welcome to what will likely be the final meeting of the strategic plan, the core team. Just want to recap for everyone where we are and where we started. I remember it was the end of my first year as superintendent here, and I was hired to really look at some things and make some adjustments to HCS, and I kind of found more than I wanted to find. And so as I looked at the different things that needed addressing, the technology, curriculum maps, scopes and sequence, process systems, we have a very good school, obviously, but to create the kinds of experiences consistently, we would need to put some systems and processes in place. And so the idea was, if you try and do this by yourself, you're probably going to really struggle. But if you bring in a bunch of people from across the community, parents, teachers, administrators, former board members, and you get a lot of people in a room, you can probably get a lot more done. And so we were able to get grant funding and hire PLC and Associates to help us kind of frame out how to put a plan together. And so now we're at the point where we have these very clear task forces. We have some very clear objectives that we want to accomplish, and we have a group of committed people from across the Hamilton community who are ready to take a look at the final plan before it goes to the Board of Education for a presentation. The person who I would like to really shout out and thank publicly is Mr. Dan Raines, who has been the internal facilitator, who we would not be at this point with about 40 pages of planning without his constant emails and follow-ups and phone calls. And so I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Raines, who will do a little bit more legwork before we turn it over to Tammy Farrell of PLC and Associates, who will kind of lead us right into the final stretch of what I believe is a historic time for Hamilton Central, because it'll be the first time we have a plan to get from here to there. It'll be codified, it'll go out to the community, the board will look at it and I believe ultimately approve it or even make modifications. And it doesn't matter who's in the seat, if the community put so much time and effort into it, the likelihood that it'll carry forward and move the district forward is much greater. The worst thing that can happen, and I'm saying that to the people in this room, is that you put together a plan and the leader leaves and it stays on a shelf. That is how you kill momentum in an organization. So Dan Starr, so Mr. Raines, if you'd be so kind enough to come on up and bring us into the next stretch. Thank you.
I'm just going to be brief because I want to say this is a fair time to thank Dr. Allison for giving me the opportunity to do this, to address you and to be a part of this, but also thanks for being here tonight. I know it's the road's been long and bumpy at times, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and this is, I think, the last final session. Thanks for your time. You're giving up and have given up lots of time that could have been with your families, with your work, or with other responsibilities. The hope is that we're going to have a plan that will, or a guiding document that the school can use. And it has not been, it's not been it may not be a perfect document, but the plan will have elements that you have all contributed to it, as Dr. Alston alluded to, from a variety of groups of stakeholders and people and community members and teachers and administrators and parents. And thank you for your help. That's all. Then I'll turn it over to Tammy.
And let's welcome in our guests. Come on in. Wait,
hello,
where you going?
Welcome back. I can't believe it's here already, even though it's been a long road. It's been a quick road. Thank you. So, since we have a few less people than we had originally thought we would, let's take a look at this agenda, because I'm going to ask you to kind of give me your input about how you want to proceed. So if you look at number 2, there was going to be 5 groups. And what I've done is split the plan into 5 pieces, the task forces, and then all of the cover pages with all of the mission, vision, parameters. And what I was going to have you do is each group would work with that, really looking at grammar, spelling, making sure names are correct, dates are correct, structure is correct. I went through and did it once, but you know what it's like with one person, you need more eyes. Then the dynamic academic culture is so large, so vast. Those of you who worked on it know that. And so within that also, there were some repeats of action plans. So what I wanted to do for that 5th group was to work with another group and sort of streamline those things, take out action plans that are reflected in other places, and really streamline that. So how might we go forward with a light group like this? Any thoughts?
Do you want to keep dynamic academic culture together, those of us that were on it, or you want us to look at something else and other people look at ours? Get a different set of eyes.
Yes.
Probably. That's a better idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Quick question.
Sure.
The consistency and structure, is that consistency across plans or within?
I made sure across plans they were consistent. So one thing, I'm glad you brought that up. One thing I want to talk about is the strategy. So some of the groups completely put the strategic intent in strategy, and some of the groups actually wrote a strategy. So the majority of the groups used the strategic intent. Do you know what I mean by that? So they just put the strategic intent in strategy, and then some groups actually wrote a strategy. For example, for the RTI strategic intent, they actually had a strategy of develop a comprehensive RTI plan, and then they broke down the action steps. So we can either, with those other task forces, look for action plans, or simply change the dynamic academic culture strategies to strategic intents, which it will work either way. So that's what I'm talking about with structure. And then there are some places where, like research, there weren't things put in the research, so I removed those boxes, just making sure that all of those boxes are removed. So seeing anything that might stand out to you. Okay, does that make sense? So what do you think about how you might want to go about this? So I think we at least need 3 to 4 people on that dynamic academic culture one. That's a big job. The other one really, PLC did a lot of work really clarifying the language, making sure things were structured consistently. So we're just looking for things that may stand out to you. For example, looking at board members' names, making sure they're spelled correctly, and core team names, things like that. You may need to go on the internet to do that kind of thing. So need at least 3 to 4 people on the dynamic academic culture.
And it shouldn't be me or these 3.
Okay.
So that takes us 3 out.
And then maybe what we could do is the other
because
group,
you're on it.
whoever's left, so what's that leave? The group that's left might want to go through all the plans, or you can maybe even just 2 people. 2 people per section?
Will we have a copy of the entire plan when we leave, so we can email Dan anything that we find?
You won't. I'm hoping you'll give me the feedback tonight so that I can take it and respond. But if we don't finish it tonight, we certainly can do things through email. I don't want to give you the whole plan until it's completely together.
Could you walk them through what happens? So
Okay.
Make Believe tonight went perfectly. Walk them through what would happen next.
So tonight, what would happen is you would give me feedback, and hopefully the things that PLC have already taken care of, you won't find anything. That would be ideal. But if not, then what we will do is respond to your feedback. The academic culture will be streamlined so that we can finish that. So then after that, all of those pieces will go to PLC. They will add pictures, they will add a letter from them, they will add some of the processes, and then they will put the entire plan together. And then you will all get a copy of that entire plan. And then what we need to do tonight is choose some people to present to the Board of Ed on,
We don't have a date. What we would do is figure out where we are tonight. And what I did is tell the board, let's not try and placeholder
Absolutely.
date. Because
glad
then
to
it
do that.
presumes that we'll be done tonight.
I'm glad to do
Although
that.
I'd love
Glad
to
hear
say
that.
we'd be
I don't
done
wanna
tonight.
rush- I'd love to be done tonight, but I don't want to rush through it and not have the best that we can have. So that's the process. And our company needs at least 2 weeks with the plan to really put it together, fine tune it. Okay, so thoughts, 2 people per section, or everybody looking at all the sections? Other than the 4. 2 people.
So
2 people.
work
per
backwards. Are there 3 people that will be on dynamic academic culture?
section. Okay, thank you.
Got 1. Come on, friends.
I was on it.
We need at least 2 more.
Are you on it?
What about you, Rick?
Okay.
And I'll be there as well.
All right, so that's Morgan. Will you look at that too?
I've already.
Sure.
Thank you. There's 3.
Jeez, you're an organizer.
He's already looked through it.
Like I've already.
Community organizer.
Okay, so is that 2?
So that's we have
You got 3.
All right, 3, that's plenty, because I will be there as well.
Okay,
So,
now say another topic. And
What's
then
the
we'll
next
just
one?
okay, so
ban
the
them
next topic is,
out.
You don't work together.
It's been a long day.
Oh, right.
It's a long day. Thank you for raising your hand. I got you.
Got rep 10.
I'm hungry.
technology.
I'll do technology. And someone else.
Who
I'll do
else?
it with
Okay, thank you. Next one.
2.
Faculty and staff support.
That one's gonna be hard because
Want to do that one?
Yeah, you better. Yeah, that's a good one.
We'll do that one.
I was gonna say, give it to Corey. He just walked in.
Mission, vision, parameters, front cover,
I'll do that.
beliefs,
There you go. I'm loving this.
and finally, family and community engagement.
It's us.
Okay.
So Rick, you're on dynamic culture.
Okay.
Stop trying to get
I
off of it.
volunteered.
Trying to get away.
So,
Voluntold.
So you want us to mark
is
this up
everybody,
with a pen?
yes. So could you just hand in 1 copy per group though?
You gave us like a lot.
I know, because we had 80.
Oh, it's fine.
1 copy per group. Are there any clarifying questions?
You want 1 copy back at
1
the
copy
end.
back at the end for your group. So are there any questions about what your task is? Remember, we're not changing the content, but if you see something worded strangely that you might want to change, yes, but we're not changing the content.
Okay, and our job is
So we're just checking for
Your job is to just look
name,
for,
spelling.
Oh, this is academic. This is academic.
oh, I'll be reading it. You guys